Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for being here. Today we're going to paint a super easy and fun desert landscape. Very simple. So we're going to use our primary colors, which I've already been using a little bit of paint today. So I already have some mixed up a little bit, but I just have yellow, red, and blue, plus black and white. So make sure you have those. And then I'm using an 8x10 panel canvas, and I use assorted paintbrushes. I like to start with a medium square brush, so that's what I'm going to do first. You can also use like an angle brush like this, so I'll use this one just because it's clean already. And we are going to paint the sky part first, and then we'll paint the bottom, and then we'll do a little bit of layering. We're just going to relax and have fun. So the first thing we're going to do is use a light pink. So I'm going to make light pink, which is just a lot of white, just a touch of red. And if you want like a warmer shade of pink, use just a tiny bit of yellow. I already have a little bit of yellow right here. So if I have just a little bit of yellow mixed in, it makes my pink a little bit lighter. And then what I want to do is I want to go right at the middle. Find the middle and make a little mark with your light pink. And I'm going to make the top of my sky traverse through here. So I'm making a wave. So I want you to start at the left, right towards the center, pull down, and then pull up. And again, this should traverse right through the middle of the canvas. Horizontal wave. Super fun. Like that. Love it. And then what you can do is like kind of do it again, but maybe going a little bit differently. Like that. So see how I like made another wave, but it's a little different. And then you can thicken it up. So fun. And then we're going to just add a little more white and go above that, and then just sort of fill it in with an even lighter shade. We really want it really light at the top because we're going to do some different colors up there. And I want to make it really light through that space too. So I'm going to put more white in between these two shades of pink. So when you've got it all filled in, you should see like a waving motion and some light pink and darker pink. Now you can always use a little bit more red, just a little bit, don't go too crazy, and maybe darken up like this part right here. So it's so fun to play with the paint. It's so relaxing. You had to be in charge of your feelings, like let it be relaxing. Try not to be too stiff about it. It's just for fun. You can add more. I mean, you can always go in and adjust. And then as I go down, I want to change my shades. So I want more of an orange. I'm going to use more yellow and red mixed together, and maybe like a red shade of orange. So like a lot of red with just a little bit of yellow, and maybe just a smidge of white. So notice if I add more red, little yellow, less white, I'm moving into this more orangey red. And then I'm going to go under that line and add another layer. And then I'm going to add more yellow. Now notice how my paint, we're just getting really gunked up. Sometimes you just got to scrape that extra paint off, then go to adjust your color, because it can get a little tricky. I still want it to come across as orange, but I just want it lighter. So notice how you can tell the difference, that it looks lighter. And I'm still moving, like waving the brush. Just go crazy. Have fun with that. And then even more yellow as I pull down. Just wiggle the brush across. And I'm only leaving about a couple inches at the bottom, so make sure you take it down far enough. That way when we paint the land, you're not having to put it up too high in order to cover your canvas. So you shouldn't be too too high up. I'm almost like clear to the bottom here. This is the bottom of my canvas. I'm really close to it. Okay, then we're gonna clean our brush. We're gonna add a couple more layers. And then we can layer on these layers. But again, this is gonna be really simple. It's fun to do simple things because sometimes if we make it too complicated, especially if we're just starting out or testing different ideas out, it can make the process less fun if we're making it too complicated. So then what I'm going to do is make my land, which I want to be a blue gray. So I'm using blue with a little bit of black and a little bit of white. And then what I'm going to do is go to the bottom here and just paint underneath my orangey colors, make some different shapes. Now, as I pull down, I want it to get a little darker. So add more black. I'm going to go up just a little higher with this, the lighter shade. So I'm adding that blue gray again, and I'm going to go just a little higher up. Notice how I'm pulling kind of almost straight across, and then I like to, I'm kind of dipping it down and pulling it back up just to create an interesting shape. Sometimes it's fun to do that rather than just doing a straight line. Give it some weird little fun things, to look at. And then we want the bottom to dry. The top should be kind of dry by now, so we can take our medium square brush or even a round brush. Let's use a round brush just for fun. I'll use a round. So any kind of round brush will do. I'm gonna use that dark yellow where it's mostly yellow with just a little bit of red. And I'm gonna make a sun coming out right here. So let's go right here above this darker pink right here. And I'm gonna pull, let's find the middle, which is right here. And then let's make a sun coming out of this space. But just partial. So at least a part of it coming out. And then what you can do is kind of do a Van Gogh kind of thing and radiate out from that, pulling out like this with the yellow. Little lines that radiate out. Kind of like the way that looks, it's fun. And then I suggest adding a couple shades. So maybe make a darker shade and add some of that to the sun so that the sun has more than one shade and radiate out more than one shade too. And that can layer over existing brush strokes, or you can make new ones. Then we can take that color and just sort of pull it down in the sky. I can pull it down, just wiggle it down all the way to the top of these mountains. Or maybe they're not mountains. It's super abstract, but I want to make sure it's light enough to show up on whatever color you're painting on. I'm just going to pull that all the way down. So it just gives it kind of a fun little thing. And then clean your brush. I'm going to use kind of a little bit of a different shade. I'm going to use blue with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of black for the cactus. So let's make some cactus. Now I want some short ones over here, so I'm going to do just little brush strokes like that, like where I just take the brush and point and then pull down. A couple right there, and then I'll have a couple little ones right here too. Little round cactus, and then I'll make some bigger ones. So I'll have one coming like at least an inch or so over from the left, or from the right here, sorry. And I'm coming down onto the ground. And this is gonna go all the way up into the pink sky. So you're just gonna go try to make it parallel with the side of the canvas so that it looks straightish. And then thicken it up by just pressing a little harder. And then maybe I'll have some arms coming off. So just make a parallel line and then curve it into the first line. Super simple. Do another one here, pull parallel, and then curve it in. Do another one here that's like coming from here, maybe like there. No, you can change it a little bit. And this one can go down like the farthest. I don't know. You just gotta play. And again, you can add more black if it's not dark enough. Should look pretty dark, like a dark, dark, dark green. And then I'm gonna add another one. Again, yellow, blue, and black. And let's do right in the dead center. We'll do a little like medium one, like a ground cactus. So this one's like kind of big, but bigger, maybe a little bigger than these, but not too much. And then we'll do another one right in between these two that's maybe not going down as low as this one, so maybe a little higher. And then it's just going to go up into the pink right here. Start with that vertical line and then add some little arms coming off. So pull from one side. And then maybe come down a little bit over here on the other side, parallel line, and then swoop it in. Really fun to paint cactuses. And then you can take some more black on your brush, and then you just want to add a shadow. So on the right cactus, I'm going to pull from the bottom of the cactus and off to the right. Same thing with these little ones, pull and then like pull a little line down. The one in the middle can just kind of go straight, and the one on the left can pull to the left. Because the sun's in the middle. So your shadows are going to kind of go like that, like pulling this way. So pulling down to the corners. And then I suggest if you want, you can clean your brush, add maybe some more texture in the sky, maybe some more layers to your sun. Maybe you want like more light pink, like white and red, and like you can put some more lines just going through the sky, kind of like just little lines, like almost like Van Gogh style, if you want, just to create some texture. You do not have to do anything if it doesn't feel like it's gonna be fun for you. Now, we want the cactus to be dry before we layer on them, so if they aren't, I would blow dry them a little bit. And then I want to highlight them with the pink. So once you've blow dried it, or let it dry naturally, however you want to do it, clean your brush. I'm going to use like the medium round brush, or if you want, actually, let's use the smaller one just because I know some people prefer the smaller brushes for these kinds of things. You can use, this is a number 2 round. You can use that. And then I'm using the pink. So the light pink, just like we made for the sky, same color. You could use like light orange, yellow, like whatever you wanted. Maybe you want a little bit of yellow in your pink for that, like what we did in the sky. But I want it to show up as, you know, like a light pink. And then I'm going to highlight on this cactus on the right. It's going to get highlight on the left. And just make a line going along the left side. And then once I get to the arm, I'm going to skip down like that. And you can do a couple lines toward the left side. Doesn't have to be just one line. Same thing on this arm. So you want to go to each arm and highlight the left side. And then you can do that with these little ones too. Now the one in the middle might just get it on the top because it's kind of being highlighted directly from the center. But the one on the left is going to get the highlight on the right. Remember to skip over the arm when you are highlighting down. And then on these ones over here, they're going to get it on the right too. And then you're going to clean your brush. And then I'm going to make sure that my shadows are good too. So I'm going to use black on the opposite side. So it should look really dark on the opposite side of your shadows. And you can adjust the shape of your cactus a little bit if you need to. And make sure you do the side of the arms too. So each little cactus arm is going to get a shadow on the side opposite to your highlight. And then you can add, like, maybe you want to do that blue-gray, so black, blue, and white. And you can do some highlighting around, that's not bright enough. You can do some highlighting on, like, around the cactuses in the ground here. So just kind of put some little wiggles. It's just fun to add like a little bit of texture there. And then if you want to make it a little more intense, you can do a couple things like making your highlights a little brighter by using just pure white, or you could use like a bright yellow. So maybe like white and yellow, or maybe even with a little red, like an orange, peach yellow. And then you can always do another layer or just add to it in some spots. So you're not covering over everything you've painted, you're just adding to it. So a lot of times in the end, I always warn people, don't completely backtrack or cover what you've created. Just add to it. Like dab, but don't cover over everything, because then that ends up feeling cluttered sometimes, or it just, I don't know, it kind of takes away from what you've put on there. So try to be careful with that. It can get carried away really quick. But no worries if you do get carried away. It happens to me too. You always can go back and, like, if your yellow got too crazy, add more pink. Just layer right over the yellow with the pink, or even go back with more black or more base color. So you can do a little bit of a back and forth for a second, as long as it's fun and you're not getting carried away in a bad way. But sometimes when I do my highlights, they get a little too thick. So what I would do is to counteract that is to use that blue and yellow with a little bit of black. So that first color we used, and then you can come in and just make tiny lines over your highlights. So this can look really cool because you're just adding, it's going to come across as looking a little different, but you're still getting the highlight in there, but you don't want it to look too chunky to where you don't see the cactus color. So you can always tone those highlights down using your base color. And that is it. We're not gonna, I'm really gonna just, again, you got some fun shadows. You played with like highlights and shadows, played with like a fun, funky, really abstract sky. And we painted a little desert scene. So any touch-ups you wanna do, go for it. But I do invite you to sign it, let it go, and then just try something new. That's kind of my go-to for when I'm creating. But I hope you had fun. I hope you give a like and subscribe and share, just to spread the joy of painting, which I think is magical. I love to see people create things they didn't think they could create. So that's why I like focus on making stuff that's really simple, so that you can see how easy it is to create something. And that way it inspires you to create more. So thanks again for painting with me. Thanks for watching, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.